The sun hung high over New York City, casting a warm glow on the bustling streets. The city pulsed with life, a vibrant mix of voices, laughter, and the distant sounds of honking cars. In the midst of this energy, Evelyn Sinclair walked confidently, her designer heels clicking on the pavement. She flanked by her elite friends, their laughter ringing out like music, a soundtrack to their privileged lives. As they strolled past the shops and cafes, heads turned to admire their style, the world at their feet. "Did you see that bag?" one friend exclaimed, pointing to an expensive store window. "I need that for the gala next week." Evelyn nodded, her eyes sparkling with the thrill of the moment. "It's perfect. We should all go shopping together later." But suddenly, the scene shifted. Just a few steps ahead, the haunting sound of a violin cut through the laughter. Lucas, a street musician, stood on the corner, his eyes closed as he poured his heart into a bittersweet melody. The notes wove through the air, filled with emotion, telling stories of struggle and hope. Evelyn's friends paused, their laughter fading into disdain. "Look at that guy," one of them scoffed, a sneer on her lips. "Does he really think he's a real musician? Pathetic." Evelyn felt a surge of arrogance swell within her. It was as if the music, so raw and genuine, was an affront to her carefully curated life. Without thinking, she turned and spat towards Lucas, her contempt spilling over. "Get a real job," she shouted, her voice laced with mockery. The world fell silent. The moment stretched, thick with tension. Lucas's fingers stilled on the strings, his eyes flying open, shock etched on his face. Hurt flashed across his features, and the haunting melody faded into an echo of disbelief. Evelyn stood frozen, the weight of her action hitting her like a cold wave. Her friends erupted into laughter, but their voices felt distant, fading away like the echo of the violin. Lucas looked at her, pain and confusion swirling in his eyes. "Why did you do that?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Evelyn opened her mouth to respond, but no words came. She felt the heat rise in her cheeks, a mix of embarrassment and defiance bubbling inside her. Instead of answering, she turned her back, her heart racing as she walked away, her friends trailing behind her, still laughing. As they moved further down the street, the laughter began to fade. Evelyn's mind raced. Had she really just done that? She could still see Lucas's shocked expression, the way his music had stopped, leaving a void in the air. A nagging feeling of unease settled in her gut, but she brushed it aside. "Come on, let's grab some ice cream," one friend suggested, trying to lighten the mood. Evelyn nodded, but her mind was elsewhere. She could not shake the image of Lucas from her thoughts. Why had she reacted that way? Did it really matter to her that he played on the street? As they approached the ice cream shop, the vibrant colors of the city seemed to dull. The laughter of her friends became a distant hum, overshadowed by the weight of her impulsive act. She felt a strange mix of power and guilt, a conflict brewing inside her that she could not quite understand. And just as she thought she could escape the moment, she caught a glimpse of Lucas again, standing alone, the violin resting against his side. He looked small amidst the thrumming energy of the city, a stark reminder of the divide between their worlds. Evelyn took a deep breath, and for a fleeting moment, she felt the stirrings of something new within her. Could she really just walk away from this? The thought lingered as they entered the shop, but the taste of ice cream felt bitter on her tongue, a reminder of the sweet music she had silenced. Lucas stood frozen on the busy street corner, his violin resting against his chest. He felt the weight of Evelyn's spitting gesture, like a stone dropped into a still pond. The laughter of her friends faded into the background, but the sting of their mockery lingered in the air. He had seen their type before, young, rich, and carefree, lost in their own worlds. But today, their laughter had cut deeper than usual. As he resumed playing, a soft melody filled the air. Each note was a reflection of his life, a mix of hope and despair. He poured his heart into the music, but the haunting theme was tainted by Evelyn's contempt. What did she know of struggle? What did she understand of the life he led? Lucas looked up, scanning the crowd for a familiar face. He thought of his younger brother, Jake, who had been sick for weeks. The boys' laughter used to echo through their small apartment, but now it was often replaced by coughs and weak cries. Lucas clenched his jaw, fighting back tears as he remembered the doctor's words. "We need to start treatment soon, or things could get worse." He shut his eyes, trying to drown out the noise of the city around him. The horns, the chatter, the footsteps, they all blended into a chaotic symphony. But deep inside, he knew he had to keep playing. The money he earned from his music was crucial, especially now. With each coin tossed into his open case, he felt a flicker of hope for Jake's health. As Lucas played, he thought of their family. Their mother had worked 2 jobs to keep food on the table. She was worn out but never complained. He had sworn to her that he would take care of Jake no matter what. The burden of responsibility pressed heavily on his shoulders. "I can't let him down," he whispered to himself, his voice barely audible over the music. Suddenly, his phone buzzed in his pocket, breaking his concentration. He pulled it out and saw a message from the hospital. His heart sank as he read the words. "We need to discuss Jake's condition. Please call us." Panic washed over him. The melody faltered, and he lowered his violin, staring blankly at the ground. "Hey man, are you okay?" a passerby asked, noticing the change in Lucas's demeanor. "Yeah, I just need a moment," Lucas replied, his voice shaky. He took a deep breath, trying to regain his composure. But the truth was, he felt as if the world around him was crumbling. He glanced back at the street where Evelyn had stood with her friends. The glitz and glamour of her life felt like a distant planet, one that he could never reach. They had everything: parties, fancy clothes, and a future filled with promise. And here he was, struggling to pay for his brother's medicine. Why do they laugh? He thought bitterly. Why do they think it's okay to mock someone who's just trying to survive? As he continued to play, he noticed a group of children listening intently, their eyes wide with wonder. For a moment, Lucas felt a spark of joy. He played a lively tune, and the children began to dance, their laughter filling the air. It reminded him of the times he had spent with Jake, playing music together in their tiny living room. "See, you can do it," he would tell his brother. "Just feel the music." But as the last note faded, reality crashed back in. The call from the hospital loomed over him, a dark cloud of uncertainty. He needed to put food on the table and pay for Jake's treatment. He needed to stay strong. With a heavy heart, Lucas gathered his things and walked away from the street corner. He needed to face the truth. The harsh realities of life were not something he could ignore. As he turned the corner, he took one last glance at the bustling street, filled with laughter and life. "Maybe one day," he whispered, "I'll find a way to bridge this divide." With that, he stepped into the shadows, determined to fight for his brother's future, even as the world around him seemed to glow with indifference. As the days passed after Evelyn's harsh act, a feeling of unease settled in her heart. The laughter and chatter of her elite friends began to sound hollow. She found herself lost in thought, recalling the moment she had spat towards Lucas, the street violinist. The memory replayed in her mind like a haunting melody, and shame crept over her. "Evelyn, are you even listening?" one of her friends, Tara, asked, waving a hand in front of her face. "Sorry, what?" Evelyn replied, shaking her head to clear her thoughts. Tara rolled her eyes. "I said we should hit that new club tonight. They have the best cocktails." "Yeah, sounds fun," Evelyn said absently, her mind drifting back to Lucas. She remembered the hurt look on his face when she had reacted so cruelly. It was as if she had struck him, and the weight of her action pressed on her chest. Later that evening, while scrolling through social media, Evelyn stumbled upon a post that changed everything. A news article caught her eye. Local street musician's brother in critical condition. Her heart raced as she read the words. The article detailed Lucas's struggles to support his family while pursuing his passion for music. It mentioned his younger brother's health issues and the mounting medical bills. Evelyn felt sick. The laughter of her friends faded into the background. How could she have been so blind? She had been so consumed with her own world, so wrapped up in her privilege, that she hadn't considered the consequences of her actions on others. "Evelyn," her friend Max called from the other room, breaking her concentration. "Are you coming or what?" "I'll be there in a minute," she shouted back, but she didn't move. Instead, she continued to read. With each line, her heart grew heavier. She felt a mix of guilt and sadness wash over her. That night, lying in bed, Evelyn tossed and turned. She couldn't shake the feeling that she needed to do something. The thought of Lucas and his brother haunted her. How could she have laughed when he was pouring his heart into his music, struggling to keep his family afloat? The next morning, Evelyn awoke with a sense of determination. She knew she couldn't change the past, but she could try to make amends. She grabbed her phone and started searching for more information about Lucas. She found social media pages dedicated to his music and even a few videos of him playing on the street. The comments were filled with praise from people who appreciated his talent. "Wow, he really is good," she whispered to herself, watching a video of him play a beautiful piece that seemed to echo his pain and passion. As she watched, she realized that music was not just a hobby for Lucas. It was his lifeline. It was how he expressed his feelings and shared his struggles with the world. The realization hit her hard. She had disrespected not only his art, but his very existence. Evelyn made a decision. She would find Lucas. She needed to talk to him, to apologize, and to understand what he was going through. It wasn't just about her guilt anymore. It was about making a real connection. She stepped outside, the bustling streets of New York City greeting her. The noise of the city felt different today. It felt alive, vibrant, and full of stories waiting to be heard. Where would he be? She muttered to herself, glancing around. She thought back to the park where she had first seen him play. It was a popular spot for street performers. As she walked, her heart raced. What would she say? Would he even want to talk to her after what she had done? Doubts flooded her mind, but she pushed them aside. She was ready to face the consequences of her actions and learn from them. With each step, she felt a renewed sense of purpose, a desire to bridge the gap between their worlds. She would find Lucas and hopefully begin to understand the life he lived. It was time to confront her past arrogance and open her heart to the struggles of another. Evelyn stood at the corner of 42nd Street, her heart racing. She looked around, the busy city buzzing with life, but her mind was focused on one thing: finding Lucas. After days of reflection and guilt, she felt a strong urge to make things right. She wanted to confront her past arrogance and understand the struggles he faced. As she walked, doubt began to creep in. "What if he doesn't want to see me?" she whispered to herself. Her friends had always said that people like Lucas were not worth her time, but now their words felt hollow. Evelyn took a deep breath, pushing her fears aside. Finally, she reached the small park where Lucas often played his violin. There, amidst the noise of the city, she spotted him. He sat on a bench, his violin resting on his knee, staring off into the distance. The sight of him struck her. He looked so lost, so alone. Gathering her courage, she approached him. "Lucas?" she called softly. He turned, his expression a mix of surprise and guardedness. "What do you want, Evelyn?" he asked, his voice tight. Anger flickered in his eyes, but so did a hint of sadness. Evelyn felt her heart drop. I wanted to apologize for what I did the other day. It was wrong, and I regret it." Lucas crossed his arms, still not letting his guard down. "You think an apology changes anything? You don't understand what it's like to struggle." "I know I don't," she admitted, her voice trembling. "But I want to understand. I'm here to listen." He hesitated, the tension hanging heavy in the air. Finally, he sighed and shifted in his seat. "Fine. But just know that trust doesn't come easy." Evelyn nodded, eager to show him she was sincere. "I get that. Can we talk, please?" Reluctantly, Lucas nodded and gestured for her to sit beside him. The two sat in silence for a moment. The sounds of the city filled the air, but it felt as if they were in their own world. "Why do you play in the streets?" Evelyn asked, breaking the silence. "Don't you want a bigger stage?" Lucas looked at her, his expression softening slightly. "I play because it's what I love, but sometimes it's not enough. I have responsibilities. My brother, he's sick. I have to take care of him." Evelyn's heart sank as she listened. "I didn't know. I'm sorry. I thought street musicians just wanted attention." He shook his head. "It's not about attention, it's about survival. My family depends on me." Evelyn felt a wave of shame wash over her. "I've been so blind. I always thought my problems were the biggest, but I see now. I was wrong." Lucas studied her for a moment, searching for sincerity in her eyes. "So, what do you want from me? To feel better about yourself?" "No," she exclaimed, her voice rising. "I want to help. I want to do something meaningful. I can't just sit back and let my privilege blind me anymore." A flicker of surprise crossed Lucas's face. "Help? You think you can help a street musician?" "Yes," she insisted. "Let's brainstorm ideas together. We can find a way to raise money for your brother's treatment. You deserve better than this." Lucas was silent, contemplating her words. "You really mean that?" "Absolutely," she replied, her eyes shining with determination. "I want to turn this around. We can make a difference together." Slowly, a small smile began to form on Lucas's lips. "Okay, let's start with some ideas, but I won't promise it will be easy." Evelyn smiled back, feeling a spark of hope. "I'm ready for whatever it takes." As they began to brainstorm, the initial tension between them faded. They shared their fears and dreams, each moment forging an unexpected connection. Evelyn felt lighter, as if a weight had been lifted off her shoulders. She realized that by confronting her past, she was also opening the door to a better future. In that moment, the divide between their worlds began to blur, replaced by a shared mission and a budding partnership. Together, they would face the challenges ahead, transforming their past animosity into something powerful and meaningful. Evelyn and Lucas stood in the heart of New York City, a place buzzing with life and energy. They had set out on a mission together, to raise funds for Lucas's brother's medical treatment. The journey had brought them closer, forging a bond that neither had expected. As they sat on a park bench, surrounded by the sounds of the city, Evelyn felt a mixture of excitement and nerves. "Where do we start?" Lucas asked, looking at her with a blend of hope and uncertainty. His hands fidgeted with the strings of his worn violin, a sign of the pressure he felt. Evelyn took a deep breath, her mind racing. "I think we should organize a benefit concert. We can invite local musicians, and I can reach out to my friends for support." Lucas raised an eyebrow. "Your friends? Do you think they'll help after what happened?" "They will," she replied, her voice firm. "I know I messed up before, but this time it's different. I want to change things." Lucas studied her for a moment. He remembered the disdain in her eyes from that first encounter, but now he saw determination. "Okay, if you think it will work, let's do it," he said, a hint of a smile breaking through. As they began planning, they faced many challenges. Evelyn's social circle was not enthusiastic about the idea. Some of her friends questioned why she would want to help a street musician. They laughed at the thought of mingling with the city's less fortunate. "Evelyn, why would you waste your time on him?" one friend scoffed during a brunch. "You have everything going for you. Why get involved with someone like that?" Evelyn felt her stomach churn. "Because he needs help, and that matters more than our parties and shopping sprees," she said, her voice steady despite the tension in the air. Her friends exchanged glances, but Evelyn was resolute. She remembered Lucas's struggles and the pain in his eyes. This was not just about her. It was about making a difference. Meanwhile, Lucas faced his own set of challenges. He had to convince other street musicians to join their cause. Some were skeptical, unsure of a partnership with someone from a different world. "I don't know, man," one musician said, shaking his head. "It's risky. What if it doesn't work out?" Lucas replied, "But what if it does? We could really help my brother. This isn't just about me, it's about all of us. We can show people the power of our music." Slowly, his passion began to sway the others. They agreed to join in, and Lucas felt a flicker of hope. As the days passed, Evelyn found herself deeply immersed in the world of street musicians. She spent time with Lucas and his friends, learning about their lives and the struggles they faced. The experience opened her eyes in ways she hadn't imagined. One afternoon, while they practiced together, Lucas played a beautiful melody that echoed through the park. Evelyn closed her eyes, allowing the music to wash over her. It was raw and honest, a reflection of Lucas's soul. "Why do you play here?" she asked, breaking the silence. "Isn't it hard?" Lucas looked at her, his expression serious. "Because this is where I can be free. Here, the music is mine. It tells my story." Evelyn nodded. She began to understand the beauty behind his art. "You have a gift, Lucas. I wish more people could see that." He smiled slightly, the tension between them easing. Maybe they will, with this concert. As they continued to work together, Lucas started to trust Evelyn more. He opened up about his fears, the worry for his brother, the pressure of providing for his family, and the uncertainty of his future. "I never thought someone like you could understand," Lucas admitted one day, his voice barely above a whisper. "Maybe I didn't," Evelyn replied, her eyes softening. "But I want to. I want to help you and your family. This is important." The friendship between them grew, built on respect and understanding. They were no longer just a wealthy girl and a struggling musician. They were partners in a cause that mattered. As the concert date approached, excitement filled the air. They had gathered a diverse group of musicians, and the community began to buzz with anticipation. Evelyn looked at Lucas, feeling a sense of purpose she had never felt before. "Together, we can do this," she said, determination in her voice. "Together," Lucas agreed, a smile breaking across his face. In that moment, they both knew that their journey was just beginning. The sun hung low in the sky, casting a warm glow over Central Park as Evelyn and Lucas prepared for the benefit concert. The air buzzed with excitement and a hint of nervous energy. Evelyn stood with her clipboard in hand, reviewing the final details. "Are you ready for this, Lucas?" she asked, glancing at him with a mix of hope and anxiety. Lucas nodded, his fingers brushing lightly over his violin. "I think so. I just hope people will come," he replied, his voice steady but filled with unspoken fears. He had poured his heart into this concert, believing it could change everything for his family. As they set up the stage, colorful banners fluttered in the breeze. Evelyn's friends arrived, but this time their attitude was different. They looked around, unsure how to react to the event. "Evelyn, are you really doing this?" one of her friends asked, a hint of disbelief in her tone. "Yes, I am. This means a lot to me," Evelyn answered firmly, determination shining in her eyes. She felt the weight of her past actions, and now she was ready to face it. She wanted to show everyone that she had changed. As the sun dipped lower, people began to gather. The crowd was a mix of familiar faces and new ones, all drawn together for a common cause. Evelyn spotted a family standing near the front, Lucas's family. His younger brother, Jamie, clutched his mother's hand, his eyes wide with curiosity. Evelyn felt a pang in her heart as she remembered the struggles they faced. "Thank you for coming," she told them, kneeling so she was at Jamie's eye level. "We're doing this for you." Jamie smiled shyly, and Evelyn felt a warmth spread through her. When it was time for the concert to begin, Lucas took his place on stage. The crowd hushed as he stepped forward, his violin resting against his shoulder. He looked out at the audience, his heart racing. He could see Evelyn standing in the front row, her eyes filled with encouragement. He drew the bow across the strings, producing a haunting melody that wrapped around the crowd. The music flowed from him, each note carrying the weight of his experiences and dreams. Evelyn felt the power of his music envelop her, and she understood in that moment how much it meant to him. As the song ended, the crowd erupted into applause, a wave of support washing over Lucas. He looked out, his heart swelling with gratitude. "Thank you for being here. This means everything," he said, his voice shaking slightly. Evelyn stepped forward, her heart full. "And thank you, Lucas, for sharing your gift with us. Your music has the power to change lives." The audience cheered again, and Lucas felt a sense of belonging he had never known before. Throughout the concert, Evelyn and Lucas shared the stage, telling their stories, their laughter echoing through the park. They spoke about the realities they faced, the struggles and triumphs. The audience listened, their faces reflecting understanding and compassion. As the night drew to a close, Lucas prepared to play one final piece. This was the moment he had been waiting for. He thought about everything they had been through together. He could feel the emotions bubbling inside him. "This last song is for all of you," Lucas said softly, looking out at the crowd. "It's for my brother, for Evelyn, and for everyone who has ever felt alone." He closed his eyes and let the music flow from his heart, each note a testament to their journey. Evelyn watched, tears forming in her eyes as the music enveloped her. She realized how far they had come, from a moment of disdain to this powerful connection. The audience was silent, completely captivated by the raw beauty of the performance. As the final note lingered in the air, the crowd erupted into applause once more. Lucas opened his eyes, a smile breaking across his face. He felt hope rekindled, not just for his family, but for himself. Evelyn joined him on stage, her heart racing. "We did it, Lucas. We really did it," she said, her voice filled with joy. "Yes, we did," he replied, his eyes sparkling with gratitude. In that moment, they both understood the true power of empathy and friendship. They had transformed not only their own lives, but also the lives of those around them, leaving a lasting impact on their hearts and the hearts of the community. Share this story if you believe that music and friendship can bring about real change in our lives. Leave a comment about a time when you overcame a challenge with the support of others, and subscribe to our channel for more inspiring tales like this one.